everybody. Welcome to another episode of the AtlantiCare podcast. I'm here with Susan Brown of the AtlantiCare PACE program. And, here on the podcast, we always like to talk about issues and resources available in New Jersey in Atlantic County for people with disabilities. And I think the PACE program is one of my favorite programs because it's very in keeping with the philosophy of Center Independent Living. It's about keeping people in the community and in the homes of their choice and giving them the care and support they need. So I'm really excited to have Susan here to talk about it. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Donald. How are you? Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. So give us the introduction of what, if somebody asks, what is the PACE program? What does it stand for? What does it do? What would you tell them?
So the PACE program is a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly. It's a national program. Here in New Jersey, PACE is used, the acronym is used for something else. So it's also referred to as LIFE, which is living independently for the elderly. We're here to service anyone who lives in Atlantic or Cape May County who is 55 and older, who needs a little bit more assistance to remain living in their home independently.
That's awesome. What exactly does PACE provide? Let's say I am interested in the program. What does it provide?
So the PACE program is very unique that we have what we call interdisciplinary team members. And what that means to everybody is we have the professionals of the home care RNs, the social work, recreational therapy, dietitians, social work, all of our transportation. We have primary care doctors. So we're not only their healthcare company, but we are also their providers for them as well. So all of this service comes out of one building. And we are, if you want to kind of envision, we're a nursing home without walls, meaning that we have the day center to utilize for recreational therapy, for them to come in for a primary care visit, physical therapy, occupational therapy that actually can happen in the center, as well as we can transfer anything that we service or able to do. We also can do that out into their homes. Our goal is to have all of our participants remain living in the community as long as they absolutely can.
Right. I just think that's a great way to put it. I love that, a nursing home without walls. We have consumers on the PACE program, and I'm amazed by it. You get their social work, and they take you to and from your doctor's appointments, and they help you organize your medicine. And I have somebody do the laundry, and it's really a great service, and a great service without the negative effects that a nursing home, as we all know, could have on a lot of people. So how would somebody apply? So 55 and older, which I also think is impressive, because most, when they say elder care, they say it's usually 65, at least in my experience. So 55, yes, I think is also a real positive for the program. So how would somebody apply?
So an individual, we can't go out and do door to door. So they come to us via referrals from all different community resources. They come to us, including if they're frequently in the hospital, potentially our caseworkers may pick that up and refer them to us as well. But an individual from the community gets referred to us. We go out, we do a home visit. We not only assess whether they're going to be eligible for our program, but we also look to see, can we help them with their Medicaid process? So we fall underneath the long-term care Medicaid. So anyone who fits the criteria to apply for long-term care Medicaid, we will assist them in applying for Medicaid. We don't just hand them that Medicaid application or tell them the website to go on to. We actually help them with that whole process of getting through that Medicaid process if they're financially eligible. And then some individuals come to us that are self-pay as well. We obviously are a cheaper version than what if you were going into a nursing home, but still it is costly to have all those services, including their medications, as you stated. There's absolutely no cost out of their pocket once they're part of our program. Everything is provided for them through us.
That's a great summation of it. And now I think it's really important to understand kind of what the for people to understand what the application process is like, because it is a bit of an extensive process. And Susan and I, as I always say, when we're helping people with applications, we don't create the rules. Nobody
Right.
asked us. This isn't, maybe this isn't how exactly maybe we would design the rules for the application process. But it is a Medicaid-based program, so you aren't going to have to show your income and your need for it. So I think it's
Correct.
for people to understand that. So could you explain
Yes.
that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So an individual who comes to us whose income is below $2,532 per month, as well as their resources are below $2,000, we can begin that Medicaid process. And when I say resources, I'm not only looking at their bank account, but we also have to look at their life insurances, or, potentially somebody may have money stocked away in something that they don't want to really come forth with in their CDs or IRAs. Anything that is tangible that they can have access to is considered to be their asset. So anything that is, as long as they're below that $2,000 and they're below that income limit of 2,532, we can move forward with applying for the Medicaid for them. Now, in the process, like I said, it's a 5-year look back that the Medicaid office does. So in that process of that 5 years, an individual could have came to us in multiple different ways. They may have been working 4 years ago. They may have had a larger income. There may have been some mishapped spending that has happened early on in that 5 years. But they do have to understand that if they gifted any of that money, or there's been any money given away in that 5 years, Medicaid's going to question it, and they're going to come up with questions about that. As also, if they've owned any properties, or if they do currently own a property with our program, they're lucky enough to keep that property until they're passing, and then there would be a lien against that home. But if an individual has no barriers whatsoever, then we can go forth and we can apply for the Medicaid. If they get approved for it and the individual does own that home, they'll just know they'll have that New Jersey estate recovery, that at the time of their passing, there will be that lien against them for that house.
Right, if they have a home.
Yeah. But if not, then the Medicaid application, like I said, we all know it goes through that 5-year look back for them. And in that 5-year look back, many things could come up or creep up that they'll ask. And it's not us that's asking it.
Yes.
We have to make it
Thank
clear.
you, Susan, for saying that.
It's definitely the Medicaid office asking.
And I will say, I mean, when we've done applications for like MLTSS, which they do the 5-year look back too, just because they're asking a question doesn't mean they're going to deny you the resource.
Yeah.
They need to be able to justify to Medicaid to them that you really, really need this. And
yes.
Again, do I think is it too strict? Is it how Donald would design the program?
No.
No, but you're asking for assistance, and they want to see that you really, really, really need this, because as Susan explained, it's all encompassing. It's everything. It's transportation, it's food, it's laundry. So they want to see you have no other means of getting the services met before they give it to you. So, and I will tell people, and I'm sure Susan, you've had the experience with this too, the people who do end up getting the services are the people who are willing to go through the process and persistent about it. Like they just cooperate and they just give what they need, and eventually you can do it. Now it takes a while, but the people that I've seen struggle with it, they get too stuck in kind of what they see as the unfairness of it or the invasiveness of it.
Yes.
Instead of just saying, you know what, I need these services and I'm going to do what I got to do to get them.
Yeah. And that's the one thing with us when we do go out there, we're very straightforward when we do this Medicaid application and letting them know there has been no application that has just been passed. There's usually a question about something, even if it's $100 check that, something they're going to ask us. And just bear with us. We'll work through it. We're here for you. We'll help you do it. Because we know they need that service. If they've called us or somebody's called us and given us that referral, we know that individual needs our services. There's some that obviously we can't. help because, one thing may have come up or another, and they choose not to continue with the Medicaid application. But for the most part, we can try to hold their hand to get them through that process.
Yeah, I agree. And, they're great, PACE does a great job helping people. I've seen them do it. They really do. You've gone to people's houses. They really do a great job in doing it. But my point is you have to do your part too. Like,
Yes.
you have to do your part. You're the one applying for the services. And by the way, as I say, if you think it's too invasive, I get that, but then you don't apply. Like if it's too much, you don't apply. Like
Right.
you can't expect to change the rules while you're doing it. That's not
Exactly.
gonna work. You're gonna say, oh, you're gonna lose that battle.
No.
So one question I had too is a lot of people have asked me what's the difference between PACE and MLTSS, Managed Long-Term Support Services. So I was wondering if you could explain that.
Sure, absolutely. So the MLTSS is managed by a managed Medicaid. They have a caseworker and they have contracted providers that they can provide those services for. The individual stays with their primary care doctor, but they still need to find a way or utilize logistic care to still get back and forth to that doctor's. They're doing their own scheduling for the most part for that as well. And then you have to hope that the managed Medicaid is able to, at this point, give them a home health aide to figure out, all the pieces that this individual needs, and they kind of like piece it together. And I'm not saying that is not a choice or that's not a great option for a lot of people. But for some people, it makes it much easier to come to us because we're all underneath the one building. We know that that individual needs to be scheduled for an appointment. We're doing that for them. We're doing it so we can set it up so our transportation can get that person back and forth. We know that this individual needs to come in for center days. I'm not asking another daycare center to take care of them. We have the capacity to take them on. We'll get them in. Our home health aides are our own home health aides. We are contracted with some out in the community, but for the most part, most of our individuals are serviced by our home health aides. So in saying that, basically the difference is that individual has to change their primary care doctor to our doctors, and then they have to see our contracted providers, opposed to if they're in the MLTSS, they have the option of their own provider. And then obviously the contracted specialists that they are contracted with, they can see through that MLTSS. And it's really just the personal effect of them all, of it all being underneath of the PACE umbrella or the PACE roof, if you will, of our building, opposed to MLTSS having the caseworker from potentially North Jersey caring for that person, trying to get it to work for that person. So that's really the difference. I feel like our personalization of our care, we know those individuals by first name basis, every one of them, every one of our employees do.
Yes, you do. I've seen it. And I would say the way you explained it is really, really good. Because sometimes I talk to the people we help. I say there are trade-offs in these things. So PACE, you do have to give up your doctor. So maybe you have to give up your doctor. So if you're comfortable with your doctor and the people you're seeing, maybe you say, MLTSS works better for me because I'm more comfortable with my team. But the positive side of PACE is it really, a lot of things say they're all encompassing, but really aren't. PACE is, they're scheduling your appointments. They're picking you up, taking to your appointments. They're talking to your doctor. Like it's one team. It's like your own personal team working around to get you what you need. So that comes with some benefits too, because, a lot of people with disabilities and people elderly, like the less complication there is, the easier it is for them. The less, the more people are on the same page, the easier it is for them. So I just think that's important for people to understand that when you're thinking about this, either MLTSS or PACE for you or your loved one, that there is that trade-off, but you gotta think what works better. And it really, I always say it depends on what you want to do. And I know Susan's like that too. We don't want to force you to do
Absolutely.
anything you don't
No,
want to do because that's not gonna work
nope.
anyway. But you just kind of think through kind of what your options are. And I get confused on this too. Does MLTSS have an age limit? Are they only for 55 and older? Do you know?
MLTSS's program is for 62 and older.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. All right. Good to know. That is good to know. Because I think people need to know those things too. Anything else you want people to know about PACE? Kind of what to expect? Here's a good question. What is the ideal candidate for PACE? If people were thinking, what if I have somebody or me personally should apply, what would you say is the ideal candidate?
The ideal what? I'm so sorry.
Candidate.
The ideal candidate, anyone who is 55 and older who meets that nursing home level of care is the great candidate for us. So anyone who is having struggles out there and unsure of how to piece it together to make it work so they don't end up in a nursing home, because so many that is their biggest thing. They don't want to go into a nursing home. I mean, all of us, we all know, are one fall away from going into a nursing home. So how do you predict that? So an individual who potentially has had multiple hospitalizations, say for COPD, they go into the hospital quite frequently in the emergency room because they're having trouble breathing. With us, those individuals really succeed. We have more of a hands-on and can see that individual. We can assess them quickly. Our nurses or care managers are out there as well. The transportation may pick up, so-and-so seems like they're having a little bit of difficulty breathing today. We're going to go see them. We're not going to wait until it progresses to the point that it's in the middle of the night and they can't breathe any longer.
Right.
So, I feel like anybody who has any kind of multiple chronic conditions, it's good for us to go ahead and take a look at them to see if we feel that they're a great candidate for us, and are they meeting those level of care needs. So many people get, oh, well, I can still do this. We want to encourage you to do as much as you can do. But sometimes it's just that added level or layer that kind of helps them remain living out in that community. And I can say to you, one of my greatest things is to see that individual who was really a very friendly individual, loved to be and socialize in their younger years, but has learned to have to become complacent with just sitting there potentially with the TV as being their biggest entertainment for the day, and waiting for their daughter or son to call them when they get done work. And that's like their highlight of their day. But we take those individuals and maybe they're incontinent and embarrassed to go out into the community. And we take those individuals and we bring them into the center and see them flourish, and for them to understand they're not the only one that's incontinent. And they have the opportunity to socialize and gain friends or reconnect with somebody they maybe worked with 20 years ago. And then to see their smiles on their faces when you walk into that center is just an absolute joy.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the ideal candidate to me is like somebody who maybe is fearing going to a nursing home, or you got a loved one who needs some extra support and you're wondering how you do this, but you still want to be independent. And, I think the message from PACE, and similar to SILS, it's just because you need help with something doesn't mean you have to give up all your independence. Yep. And I think that's the message we try to drive home. And you're right. I think just giving people a routine and something to look forward to, and a sense of community, and like, oh, I got to be up at 9:30 because the bus is picking me up to take me to the center. Like that stuff, even that stuff is important, because it's just it just makes you feel alive and responsible instead of just waiting for that phone call. So, instead of, I know somebody at PACE, they got a whole schedule and they know when somebody's coming, and it becomes kind of their main support. And you guys encourage independence. That's why you have the PTs and the OTs.
Yeah.
So you're improving people's conditions while you're doing it. That's why I think it's such a important program and really something that other states should model. And this is important too. It is a state-based program, right? Because I get that question. I've had that question before. Like, is PACE in Texas? And I'm like, no, not.
So we are federal CMS and also state. So we are governed both by the Department of Office of Seniors and Health, and as well as CMS for the Medicare piece of it. You know, PACE is federal, meaning that there is, since 1972, it started out in California, PACE did by, and then it slowly grew across the nation. Here in New Jersey, there is 6 open sites at present, and each zip code is deemed to have a PACE organization or a life program in them. It's just so happened that AtlantiCare's Life Connection Program services Cumberland and Atlantic County. But, you know, down the road in Inspira, they also service Gloucester, Cumberland, and, you know, I mean, so each PACE program services a different zip code. We're not in competition with each other. We just service the different zip codes to our area.
So if somebody is moving out of New Jersey, they should look and see if there's a PACE program or a similar type of PACE program in their area.
Correct. We have an individual who currently is going to be moving down to North Carolina. So we're connecting her to a PACE program down in North Carolina. I just recently had an individual who moved from Burlington County out of a PACE program and is moving into ours and enrolling with us for August 1st. So yeah, you can go between PACE programs. You just have to meet that state's guideline.
Right. And I would tell people, do your research, because
Yes.
states are different. They are different.
Yes.
They do have a lot of flexibility in what their program is. And sometimes people will come to me and say, well, I got this in New Jersey. And I'm like, well, you're not in New Jersey anymore.
That's right. That's right.
It's a different world. Well, thank you so much, Susan. What's the first step people should take if they're interested in the program? Who should they call? What should they?
They should actually call the AtlantiCare Life Connection number. And I'll give you that. It's 609-572-8588. And then you will hit extension 2, which will bring you to the enrollment directly to our phones. So even if you have to leave a message, most of the time someone's here to answer the phone call. But if not, and a message has to get left within 24 hours of a business day, we will get back to you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you guys are very responsive. I deal with all kinds of people all the time. You guys are very easy to get a hold of. And, so I would encourage anybody, just, I always say, it's not a marriage proposal. You can call and talk to Susan, see if the program's right for you, and then see if you want to go through the process. But I think the important message that I want people to take is there are other options besides a nursing home for people who are kind of feeling, losing some of their independence and concern. Because I know that I understand that Tara has a lot of people who are elderly and with disabilities who are just saying, just because I need help with something, I don't want to end up in a nursing home. Like, I don't want to give it all up.
Exactly. Yep. And we'll help support that to keep you out as long as it's, safe for that individual. Absolutely.
And what PACE has shown, because this has been, as we close up here, this has been, a debate going back to, when independent living centers were formed back in the civil rights era, is that actually it is a lot more effective to keep people in the community, and it's cheaper and
absolutely
healthier. And
yes,
it is possible, because
yes,
sometimes people say, well, I don't think it's possible. Well, PACE shows actually it is possible. They got people doing it every day. So,
yep.
just if you're thinking about it, I encourage you to make that call. And thank you, Susan, for taking the time to do this with us.
Absolutely. I am very thankful you guys asked us to do it. Thank you, Donald. I appreciate
All right.
it.
Well, I fully endorse the PACE program. So if you are interested, give Susan a call. Thanks, everybody, and see you next time on the Atlantic Still podcast. Bye.
See you. Thank you.